Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, obviously podcast from iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I'm Matt, the hipster hunter. Going to be talking all things boxing, Spence Porter, full card breakdown and review. Also talking, obviously, Spence Garcia, Danny Garcia news, what that means for Manny Pacquiao and Mikey Garcia. Manny Pacquiao's been out in the media talking about a Amir Khan fight. A lot to address in the sort of PBC welterweight picture. Plus, Dan Dubois fought this weekend as well against Ebenezer Teta or whatever his name was. So we're going to talk about that fight, I guess, because we have to, because Dan Dubois is one of the best prospects in the game, but he fought no one. And plus some other sort of tidbits in the news cycle out there. And of course, I'm joined on these lovely shows by the one and only, the illustrious, the notorious Mr. Robbie Hearn, second cousin, twice removed of Sir Eddie. Rob, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Great fight last night. Really enjoyed it, but we'll get into it and the fallout, from that fight. But yeah, really enjoyed it. It's probably, in my eyes, fight of the year and main event of any card sort of this year, especially stateside.
Let's just jump into that then. Fight of the year. It's there for you? Like, you think it's fight of the year?
I think so. I know you done like a list earlier. You're trying to piece it together, like who. And
I'm trying to think about other fights. Yeah.
And I saw others. I saw someone say, "Oh, this might scrape into my top 10 or something." I'm like, get out of it. It was easily in your top 3. But I really enjoyed it. It was a great fight, and let's talk about the fight if you want or whatever. But
I definitely think that this is going to be up there for fight of the year consideration when we get to December and January time, right? I mean, Herb Williams, TJ Doheny versus Daniel Roman, Katie Taylor, Defon Pursoon, AJ Ruiz. I mean, these all fights, Sergey Lipinets, Lamont Peterson, these all fights are probably in the short list, but it seems, and also Pacquiao Thurman, I think, needs to be in the discussion as well. This does seem like a lot of people's choice at this point in time for fight of the year, but we're only 24 hours after the fight, guys. I think.
Yeah, it's fresh in the mind. I think Lipinets and Peterson has gone sort of
under the radar, man.
Under the radar, sort of slash back of the memory banks and things like that. So this is just fresh, but we'll have to do like a show at the end of the year,
absolutely,
and sort of have him watch those fights over again and sort of really make our picks. But no, last night was that was legit. I really enjoyed it.
Let's get into the X's and O's of the fight itself. Errol Spence defeating Shawn Porter via split decision in a real back and forth, gutsy performance from both guys. I mean, the boxing on display, I think, was extremely high level from both men. On top of that, just the aggression and grit on the inside. It was such a interesting dynamic from an aesthetic from watching it, right? Because there's times, I was saying this on the live chat, that these two men would clash on the inside and explode with combinations and then exit out with beautiful exits, with beautiful footwork, head movement. And it was just an amazing fight. Like, I was really in awe of it. I'm not going to get into my individual scorecard. I scored it for Errol Spence, 115-112. I thought Spence obviously won the fight, but with the knockdown at the end, clearly cinched it up in the 11th round. I think without that and that momentum shift for also the 12th round, I don't know if Errol Spence comes away with winning those 2 rounds and wins this fight. But credit to him, he got that amazing left hook in the 11th round, dropped him, and that, I mean,
barely though. What a chin! He was like out and awake again, and just barely put a glove down.
Because if you isolate that one replay highlight of like the slow-mo where it's like from the left side of Porter and you see Porter's chin go that way, and let's say you just stop the footage right there as he's like his body is sort of dropping, and you don't see him bounce back up, and you just show that to people, they would assume he's done.
Yeah, you do, right, what happened next? What happened next? Freeze frame that, right, what happened next? Draw what you think happens next. People will be drawing people laid out with Zeds coming up.
No,
and
Porter barely touched his glove to the mat, bounced up, got that 10 count, and was on Spence.
And then pounded his chest and said, "Let's go, let's do it, let's
Wow.
go." I was like, I was like, like hairs on my arms. I was like, wow, that was just insane. And for me, that was literally the difference because I had Spence by 1 round.
Yeah.
That's how close how I scored it. I've watched it twice today, and my scoring hasn't changed. I can understand.
Yes, I
For
can.
me, if either guy was given the decision or a draw, I couldn't argue against it. But I've got to take issue with 116, 111.
Absolutely.
I think that's really poor.
There's
That's
no way one of those guys only won 4 rounds.
no, that was,
I don't think you can make that
and
argument.
even 115, 113 to Porter, I think is a bit wide. Like I say, I've got it around to Spence, but
We have a poll out on our community tab on our YouTube page. Go vote on who you thought won the fight. Right
I,
now, it's a
I
clear majority that pick Earl Spence or that they thought he won it. But there clearly is like 20 to 25% of people think that it was either a draw or Porter won. So I can see why they think that. And plus, if you're of the mindset that like Porter's aggression and his volume, like you just like that, and that's your thing,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna give him a lot of these swing rounds, and that might swing your scorecards. But digressing from the scorecard topic, I think that just who cares? Like this is such a great fight, and honestly, I think Porter's one of those guys. Like he's okay taking an L, and I think we're okay with him taking an L because we still love Porter. And
Well,
on
he
top
would.
of it, finally, for God's sake, some of you guys that have been hating this guy, that have discredited Shawn Porter for so long, are seemingly giving him credit now that he made the Terminator-like Earl Spence human. He made him look like the rest of the pack at the top, and that I think finally there is that section of fandom that really doesn't like Shawn Porter's style, think he's ugly, think he's just a footballer who now puts on boxing gloves, like that stupid narrative. They're now coming around a little bit.
He looked more than, as Spence called him, a street fighter, an in shape street fighter. He looked better than that. Or what was it? A guy drowning that doesn't know how to swim. Yeah.
Yo, Spence was brutal in the build up to this fight,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, but no. For me, a few surprising things was how Porter was able to turn Spence with
Every
relative
time.
ease,
Every time.
and not just with clever exits, but almost like manhandle him.
So I was
I was impressed.
when I went back and watched this fight today. I specifically wanted to pay attention to the audio of the corner and sort of the coaching on that. And after the first round, Ken is on Shawn's ass. When you turn him, you need to explode. You need to throw a combination. Every time you turn him, you need to explode, and you need to turn him. You need to keep turning him. He can't keep up with you. You're too fast. And Ken was just drilling that each sort of rest period for the first sort of segment of the fight, and that was just drilled into Porter. And honestly, I think one factor I think I failed to mention on the live fight chat was the speed factor or the disparity. Shawn Porter was clearly the faster guy,
Yeah,
and significantly so. And I'm just amazed at his ability to be such a great athlete, and again the boxing ability, because his timing to duck under that left hand and roll out, and then like you say, all on top of that, the athleticism to manhandle Spence, a guy bigger than you, to the
yeah,
ropes, and then
yeah.
throw combinations on top of that, and to do it consistently for 12 rounds.
Yeah, he is conditioned to like hell and back. He is
Wow.
unbelievable. But for me, it was like that. I don't know. Like Porter's not the most accurate of guys, but
Yeah.
then I've got to give him, as much as the aggression sometimes wasn't effective, it kind of was in a
Absolutely.
twisted kind of,
Yeah.
effective aggression, because he was just like a fucking, uh, Tasmanian devil. It just would explode, and it is effective aggression because it kind of kept Porter,
Spence.
Spence, sorry, in check, kind of thing at times. But it was also kind of watching through fingers, because you just felt at some point, being so sort of wide and looking for the big like bolo punches and crazy like just aggression, he
And
was going to catch one, and
on
he
top of
obviously
that,
did.
Spence's accuracy is one of his best traits. You know, his ability to
Yes.
time and select a shot that's the perfect shot and then land that shot accurately
Yeah.
is a really uh, extreme talent of his.
I think.
And
Sorry, go on.
like you said, I was watching through, you know, my eyes going, it's gonna happen it's gonna happen eventually, and it
Yeah.
did, and it happened at the worst time
It was
possibly
the momentum shift that I think.
because Porter was on that run where he was winning almost like every round after round like 7 or so. Like you can give honestly round 7 to like 10 or like round 6 to 10 all to Porter,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all of a sudden round 11 happened and it changed the
He was,
fight.
and he was winning that one as well.
He was.
And then bang,
You can argue even after the knockdown, he was winning that round.
when I'm telling you, when he pounded his chest and was like, "Let's go, I'm like, "Fucking, this guy's a G." This Sean Porter, I think, despite a loss, his stock has risen
And,
dramatically.
and on top of that, I'm not surprised because both these guys are super classy. But the way they greeted each other after the fight and like just it was cool. Like it was
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah, but maybe not so much in the post-fight press conference.
I
It
didn't
got
see that.
oh,
What I miss?
Sean started saying like, "Yeah, but let's not forget who sold this pay-per-view." And then Errol was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It got real heat.
Yo, no
He's
way.
like, "Yeah, yeah,"
Yo,
and he
Shawn
said,
said that.
"Yeah." And then Spence was like, "Well, guess what? My next fight will be pay-per-view. Your fight won't be." And
Oh, hold on.
it was
Damn.
getting, yeah,
I want smoke.
yeah.
Ooh.
I thought you would have seen that, but
Nah, you know me. I don't watch press conferences, man.
no, it got. I was like, "Oh, what a shame," because it was like they went to war. They were real cool with each other. And one comment in the presser, and it all went fucking crazy. But back to the fight.
I can't
Yeah,
believe it's that comment that Porter's like, yeah, we all know who sold the pay per view. Everyone's like, wait, yeah, the other guy, not
yeah.
you.
Wow. I don't think they particularly sold it great between them, but we'll see. Obviously,
Eh,
I hope this is done fucking 6 million fucking pay
no,
per
but
view.
I think it clearly is done.
It deserved to be seen by a more than that's
I
that
think
will have seen it.
I think it clearly did a decent number because their metrics going into the pay per view were saying, hey, we can roll the dice on a Earl Spence Danny Garcia pay per view in
Yeah.
January, and oh, that's just and per Mike Coppinger, just to add to that again, in January 25th, PBC on Fox pay per view is the
The week
penciled in
after the
date.
Super Bowl, right?
No, week before.
Oh, the week before the Super Bowl.
Week before, yes, which is better, honestly. Um, the week after, all the coverage would be kind of over in a sense. If it's
I
before,
thought it
still
was
get the
going to get
coverage.
all the build up from the Super Bowl. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, because Super Bowl's the week after. You know, like it. There's a few week period before the Super Bowl actually starts, but and the last playoff game,
Okay.
and that's all build up for the Super Bowl. So
Right. Okay. Right.
they're gonna be right in the middle of that build up, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. But digressing from that, it is clearly I want to make this point really clear and crystal clear. I made it last night, but apparently I need to make it again because I see a lot of people playing publicists online. Earl Spence versus Danny Garcia is a good fight. It's two top 6 guys in the welterweight division. No one is disputing that, to be honest. Like no one is disputing that Danny Garcia is not deserving, air quotes, of a Earl Spence fight. He's a top 6 guy, former champion. Like he has the prerequisites, right, to fight a Earl Spence. However, while it's a good fight, I think most of us rather have better fights or the best fights possible or the best fight possible. And a better fight would be Earl Spence Manny Pacquiao. Why isn't Fox throwing the bag at Manny for that fight? Honestly. Like, why don't you put Manny Pacquiao or Earl Spence on this date and have it get all of the benefit of the Super Bowl? Why not?
It would be huge.
Massive. I think Earl Spence, I'll be honest, I don't. My pay-per-view prediction's going a little bit higher after this fight. It just seemed like it was trending in the right direction on fight day, and that's a good sign. But digressing from that, Earl Spence is a growing star. Manny Pacquiao is a star. This would do near 1 million buys. And on top of that, with the Super Bowl coverage around it, oh
Especially if the Cowboys get there.
God.
Cowboys make it to the Super Bowl.
They don't even need to. That's the funny part. But if they do, wow.
No, just added bonus.
Absolutely right. But on top of that, why don't we get the best fight, which is Spence Crawford in the division?
Max, stop.
But no, honestly, like, why don't, like, both guys, like, as far as we know, Crawford versus Cain Velasquez is not signed, still delivered. Okay. Right?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
okay,
that's ever been officially confirmed.
Okay.
But.
Manny Pacquiao has no fight lined up. He's touring the world right now with his basketball team, living the life. Okay. I think you can probably schedule him in for January. Wouldn't be an issue. Why aren't we getting those fights that are bigger money fights? So, like, the money topic can't be a point anymore because those two fights make more money. On top of it, they're better fights. Why? And one of them's in-house. Like that. Like I was honestly getting ready to have the debate of, like, Spence versus Pacquiao compared to Spence versus Crawford. Which fight's better? Right? And the PBC crowd defending Spence Pacquiao and a lot of other people defending Spence Crawford, right? But no, we don't even get that argument. We get Spence versus Danny Garcia. The guy that just lost to, he didn't just lose, but he lost recently to Shawn Porter. The guy that just lost to Errol Spence. Like, it's a fight that does really nothing for Spence's brand and legacy at this point in time. I think Danny Garcia needs a win or two more against top guys like a Shawn Porter rematch, a Keith Thurman rematch, Manny Pacquiao fight. He needs to beat one of those guys to then make a win versus him legacy adding in a way. He's a great name to add to the ledger, but he's not legacy changing in the way a Pacquiao win is or a Crawford win is for Spence. And it feels like we're just prolonging that fight. And on top of it, with the comments from Errol Spence about how much weight he had to cut for camp, 25 plus pounds. He has no strength and conditioning trainer, and that he needs to change that. And a lot of the fights before today or before yesterday were fights mentioned for him in the future were fights at 154. Whereas him moving up much sooner than expected. Why are we risking these great fights like Spence Pacquiao or Spence Crawford with a Spence Danny Garcia fight? Not really risking it, but wasting time, precious time of these guys' finite, short shelf life careers. I don't understand it at all.
No, and regarding Pacquiao, he clearly doesn't want Errol next. That's why the bag isn't being. I think Pacquiao, he didn't put him in a poll after the was it the Broner fight? Mm-hmm. Every name except Errol was in there. Nothing sort of said after he was ringside for the Mikey fight. Didn't really seem too keen after watching that one either. But so it looks like it's going to be Mikey Garcia. But for me, Shawn Porter has leapfrogged Mikey. If you're going to fight someone who's off a loss, I think Porter's more deserving of his loss to Spence than Mikey Garcia is.
We'll get to the Manny Pacquiao fight next. Keep it because there's more information about that. I don't think I sent it in the one-on-one chat, which I want to get to. I'm sorry, Rob. Okay, I did last-minute production on the show. I apologize. But separate the Spence Pacquiao, Spence Crawford, and then Spence Danny Garcia discussion from what is Manny Pacquiao doing next. Can we separate those for a second? Sorry.
We can. I didn't know you'd done all this extra shit.
I'm sorry. I did. I didn't tell you. I apologize.
But yeah, like kind of like you said, Spence Danny Garcia isn't a terrible fight.
No, it's a good fight.
People's reaction is coming off of this isn't the fight we want. That's
and on top of that, it's pay-per-view again. $75.
Of course it is. There was a piece, I can't remember where it was, but the Fox executive, whatever his name is.
Yes.
From Fox said you're gonna get 2 Fox pay-per-views in the early first quarter next in 2020. So that looks like that's obviously Errol and Danny and Wilder and Fury, I would guess is those 2 that have been targeted.
2 big ones too. I mean, those are 2.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But yeah, I think Errol and Pacquiao would do unbelievable numbers. And I think they're all the powers that be would really push that one, especially like with the if it was with this Super Bowl, near to the Super Bowl and everything, like all the power that they can put in behind that, it would do absolutely crazy numbers. But like I said, I don't think Pacquiao's in the mood for that kind of fight at the moment. So Terence Crawford, I don't know. I sent you a link. I think Lance Pugmire reported they're going to see what Wilder Fury do regarding
It does seem like that's a test run.
The joint pay-per-view, and take a view of Spence versus Crawford in early 2021. So don't expect the remaining darker hairs on my face to be dark any longer. They'll be white. I'll be full on Santa Claus by then. That's a long time to wait for such a great fight. That's possibly Terence Crawford exiting his prime years, So,
Absolutely. 92 Aku in the chat is saying we're just being realistic, but is at ESPN and out till next year. And on top of that, I'm just adding to it. Pacquiao clearly doesn't want to fight Errol Spence. Best up is Danny. I understand that argument, which is, like I said, it's a good fight. It's, again, 2 top 6 welterweights. Like, it's not a bad fight at all. It's a good fight. It's a really good fight. But it's a fight that is not needed at this time, honestly. And it's clearly not the fight that I think is going to be determining who is the best guy in the division. And right now, I want to see who is the best guy in the division. We have 3 guys at the top right now. Thurman. No, sorry, it's not Thurman. Whoa. Pacquiao. One time.
Gary, press 1. You'll be in the queue.
Pacquiao, Spence, and Crawford. And until those 3 guys fight each other, we're not going to get a finality and a true hierarchy with the division, honestly speaking. But moving on.
I just want to say, take the opportunity to just say poor Ugas. He looks like he's being overlooked in the WBC rankings. He's above Danny Garcia. Shame, man. Shame.
Not surprising there. Moving on to the rest of the card, David Benavidez defeating Anthony Durrell via KO in the 9th round. Thoughts on this fight, Rob? Obviously, I talked about it last night. I want to get sort of your thoughts on it because I haven't heard your thoughts on this fight. David Benavidez's performance, was it impressive enough in your mind?
It was all right. I'm not blown away. He left me a little bit flat. Don't get me wrong. He walks to, he was stalking Durrell like some fucking Friday the 13th horror movie type. It was a bit scary, and he took some shots and kind of just laughed them off and kept coming. That was a little bit scary, but I think his technique and everything is, I don't know. The more I watch of this guy, the less impressed I am with him, to be honest. I think he stands square on. I think he gets very, just stands virtually bolt upright. I don't know. I just saw holes. Callum Smith greater than David Benavidez.
It's okay. Caleb Plant's better than them all.
But seriously, no. I just wasn't that. I just sort of saw things this time. That's all.
I understand completely. I also want to add, because we had someone comment in one of our videos from last night saying, like, who has Caleb Plant beat? I was like, you know what? Let's look at the top guys in the division. Who have they really beat? It's not really definitive in terms of like who has the best resume. Right now, who has the best names on the resume is honestly at the top at 168 is Billy Joe Saunders because he beat a bunch of good guys at 160. But that doesn't really count at 168 in theory, right? Top level guy right there. But
would you say Smith with Groves, even though it might be a slightly older Groves?
I think Smith has the better name, like the more, or at least the more notable name in George Groves.
Yeah,
but then we have like Caleb Plant defeating Uzgatsky at that point. That was a great Uzgatsky, and David Benavidez. Looking through his resume, this is his best win. I don't think we really recognize that. His la-
Via
his
cut.
his last notable name is Porky Medina, guys, and then like Dennis Duglin years ago. Like this is
That's a rematch, Gavril.
oh yeah the Gavril fights, but I
Well,
don't that's not a notable fight in my opinion. I'll be
should be
honest.
having a rematch at that age, right?
No,
Or-
that's like oh I'm gonna make this comparison and it makes me sad. I'm making this comparison, but reminds me of Kell Brook versus Carson Jones too. And I was like, hey, red flags here, guys. Like this is if he's that good, he should be not doing this. This shouldn't be an issue. But digressing from that, a lot of these guys have not had a real run yet in the division, meaning Smith, Plant, or Benavidez. Billy Joe Saunders had a great run at 160. He has yet to really fight at 168 yet, so we do not know at this point in time what he really is in this division. But those three young guys, they are, in my opinion, super young, have a lot to prove, and I don't think any of them have a claim to the top guy in the division. And that's probably why there is such a disparity in fans and people talking about, like, is it Plant, Benavidez, Smith? You know, you get a lot of that chatter and kind of little chatter because no one has a real claim to the top guy in the division yet, to be quite honest.
No, this is going to seem very UK biased, but for me, Callum Smith is the guy in the division at the moment. Are we going to see them face off and unify? I don't think so, to be honest. Maybe Benavidez and Plant will meet each other, but I don't know. Look out for Plant's next opponent. I'll say that much.
We're going to talk about that. Don't worry. I think a Smith Billy Joe Saunders fight early next year would be a great indicator of, you know, the hierarchy, because maybe the winner of that can have a real claim to being the best guy in the division.
Just quick shits and giggles. Eddie Hearn is convinced that Billy Joe Saunders is getting the Canelo fight Cinco de Mayo.
Wait, sorry. Repeat that again, because all I heard was Eddie says, so I'm like, I tuned out. Oh, Eddie says.
You're okay. You're ridiculous. No, you might want to any for this one because I don't know whether there's something behind this or it's wishful thinking or it's just saying the right thing in front of your fighter. But he said he is convinced Billy Joe Saunders gets the Canelo fight Cinco de Mayo next year. So I don't know whether that stems from some kind of talks or
it's bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I realized? Like that soundbite is so perfect for Eddie now. Like I'm just gonna use that far more often for like promoter talk or fighter talk. That is,
it's bullshit.
Like, and it's not just for Eddie. I'm gonna use it for everyone. Don't get me wrong. But like that's gonna be the soundbite for it now. I don't know why I haven't been using it for that reason.
As it was used for him, this is always going to be a good one.
Who the fuck is he talking about?
Yo, Bob, I forgot to put all those on my soundboard. I need to.
Oh, no, you're like, send me all those Aram links, and I'm like, all right.
I need to make room. That's the thing. I need to make room for it, and I don't know where to make room, and that is terrifying. Like deleting stuff off my soundboard it's like deleting like one of my children. It's like no,
like deleting one of your children. How many you got?
Just got one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just maybe say fingers next time.
That I know of. I don't know. Digressing.
Oh, gigolo over here.
David Benavidez. Quick for rapid thoughts on his performance. I agree with a lot of the technical assessments that Rob said. Clear lateral movement deficiency, and that needs to be addressed. Lack of head movement. Does a really good job of parrying shots and blocking shots with his arms and his forearms and his elbows, but I would like to see a more varied defensive arsenal, a more varied offensive arsenal. Maybe he just didn't care to show it here, but I think it's more an issue that he doesn't really have it yet because we haven't seen him show it yet. You know what I mean?
I think he didn't respect Durrell's power. I think
that's true, but you know what I mean? Like, I'll put it this way. Spence versus Lamont Peterson. Remember there was that moment where like Spence was like moving around all nice, and I was like, ooh. That's his version of Spence we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Maybe he has that in him, right? And then we saw it with Mikey and now Porter, right? We then saw it in other fights for more extended periods where it was needed. David Benavidez hasn't done that quite yet for me in any of his fights where I go, oh, that's that glimpse of an extra piece of his game that when he does fight those really top guys, he will fall back on in need, and it will show that he's a high-level boxer.
Yeah,
I
don't get
haven't
me
seen
wrong.
that
He
yet.
is raw. He is a raw talent because when he explodes, holy shit! It's when he
Plus he's
does
young.
let go with some combinations. He's good. I would say he's the fastest throwing super middleweight.
Agreed.
Fastest hands, crazy. But yeah, I just wasn't off of that performance with Darrell. Yeah.
Plus, he is 22. I have to add
Oh,
that caveat.
early,
He's
yeah, he's
super
very young.
young, and plus he had the layoff. You know, a lot of accommodating factors up to why this performance may not have been the best. But I do think there are clear technical issues he does need to address. But then again, he was 22. He should have technical issues that he needs to address. That's normal. Speaking of a person having technical issues that they need to address, Mario Barrios defeating Batur Akhmadov. Yes, Gary. You love that segue. You know it. Digressing though.
No laughing matter. It's not a joke. It's something that's really serious.
Actually, I'm gonna do something. I should say I'm gonna start with positive, but I definitely didn't start with positive. I'm now gonna say some positive things and then go to some of more of my criticisms and constructive criticism of Barrios' game. And to be honest, Gary, I've actually gone back and watched a couple of his fights. Like in the last 24 hours, I was like, you know what? I'll go back and watch the last 3 or 4 fights. I'll see what Gary's seeing and what I saw and all that fun stuff. Wasn't that much. But I will say this: Barrios does something that's really well. His straight shots are, picture perfect, like dictionary textbook perfect of how to throw a jab. How to throw a straight right hand. His timing of it's perfect. His accuracy of it's perfect. Like you can't, that is such basic, but on top of it, important fundamentals that a lot of guys don't have. So he does have that. Credit to him. On top of it, clearly a tall, lanky guy that knows how to use his height and his reach, knows how to set up angles, set up shots. He's a crafty boxer. Decent footwork, I should say. Definitely above average footwork. But
Yeah, do the bad ones now.
But he is a guy that needs to be going forward, in my opinion, to really get his game going in a way that he is comfortable with. And on top of that, in terms of comfortable, he's a guy, and I said this on the post-fight show, Gary, so you remember this, but he is a guy that clearly needs to have some level of control, and he likes to slow fights down. And when fights exceed a certain tempo or pace, his defense drops. He starts throwing wild combinations, and he becomes far more susceptible to his opponent's offense. And maybe that's just a factor of him being a young fighter. Absolutely could be. He's young. I know he has 25 years old. But these are clear issues he needs to address. On top of it, I do think he has really significant head movement issues. I think his footwork is fine, but his upper body is super static in what it does in terms of how he moves, where he goes, how he throws combinations. He's a guy that he might be setting up angles with his feet, but his torso is still in the same spot. His head is still static on that line in a way. And that means he is truly susceptible to counters because his legs are moving a certain way and his torso isn't. And that means when he gets caught with a certain shot going that way, it's going to hurt and hurt more. And I think that's what we saw here is that all those things in combination. He was going backwards way too much. He wasn't in control. The tempo exceeded his expectation and desire. And on top of it, he wasn't really able to get his head off the center line of these combinations from Akhmadov. And these are things he needs to address. And until he addresses that, he is going to be susceptible to these tougher fights at this level of sort of the division, these top 30-ish prospect guys, right? And because of that, it makes me really hard to say, yes, he is going to be a champion in a year or two. I don't see it yet. I need to see improvement in those factors because honestly, if you go back in a lot of his fights, Gary, those have been reoccurring issues from day one that he really hasn't addressed.
He is a champion now.
Stop. He has refined some of the things he does well through his career, obviously, like his jab, his straight shots, his footwork, his ability to sort of use his range and his reach. But there is so much of his game that he has not improved on for a long time. And I think maybe a trainer or a camp change would be in order for Mario Barrios, to be quite honest. Rob, any thoughts on Barrios versus Akhmedov, which was, by the way, a really fun fight. Go check it out if you haven't yet. I know it was on the undercard of the pay-per-view telecast. I don't know if people watched it yet, but that was a fun fight that was worth, I would say, paying attention to. I know like Santiago was really down on it when he called in last night, but I thought that was a really fun fight, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I think Barrios has got away with one. He was exposed, and how'd you say it?
Akhmedov.
Akhmedov, yeah, he was legit. He was like this fucking Terminator. He was just chasing him down the whole night, and I think, like you said, picking up on his upper body movement. Matt Macklin and Dave Caldwell were doing Sky sort of analysis, and they were saying this Akhmedov just needs jab for the chest because it's going to set up everything else off that. Just because it's just there, he's just there to hit. And for me, one of the knockdowns was, I'm not saying it wasn't a knockdown, but it was like a real soft, weird one where Barrios kind of stepped back and it made Akhmedov's gloves fall to the, like he was almost as if like he was leaning on him, and then his gloves touched, and it was like, oh fuck. But that that second knockdown, for me, saved Barrios in the fight. But yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it again. I think that deserves a rematch because the crowd didn't like the decision for sure. They gave Akhmedov a great ovation. By the way, speaking of crowd ovations, when they got Danny Garcia up in the ring, oh god damn, boo! I was like, oh, anyway. But yeah, Akhmedov, I thought really felt for him because he put on a cardio display like no other. That was insane. He was just constantly going down. But yeah, Barrios, get a trainer that can teach you to box off the back foot if you're going to fight like that, because yeah, you're not very good at it. And I don't know, but Macklin and Dave Caldwell, they seem to think that Barrios has probably broken his cheekbone or something, because just that,
the way the swelling was.
Yeah, they just said that looks like there's a break there. So if he is, hopefully that heals up nicely, and he's good to go again, because I want to see a rematch. That was I enjoyed that fight. I don't know why Santi was down on it, but
yeah,
strange. Not enough 10-10s, maybe.
Maybe Santi was drunk at the movie theater. It's quite possible. Moving on, though, Josito Lopez defeating John Leon Jr. via KO in the 8th round. A fun old man fight. I gotta say, there's a place for these type of old man fights. We're gonna talk about another old man fight later on in a second that shouldn't be allowed. But with these guys, like Lopez looked great against Keith Thurman. Like, he has value, I think, still in this division. John Leon Jr., I think, clearly is deteriorating, but this was probably the last big hurrah he could have had, if any. And he went for it. Credit to him. But this should probably be the last significant fight of his career, to be quite honest. If he wants to have some more club shows to make some money, I'm fine with that. But
not with that corner team, though.
No. God, that was bad.
Just don't let him get out for that final.
The officiating, the judging, and the corner work all around this weekend was just bad for all combat sports. MMA included.
The commission or someone had to jump up to stop Darrell's eye opening up even more. Was it that fight? It was, right? They're all up on the ring apron waving it off.
Was it that one or this one? Was it Lopez Molina?
I think it was I think it was Benavidez Durrell. The ref just jumped in for the Molina one.
Well,
I
the
think.
Darrell one, the corner stopped it during the ninth round, and this one was a standing stoppage. It doesn't really specify. Anyways,
The two guys were up on the apron.
I
telling
know what you're talking
them-
about. I just don't know if it was for this one or that one. But digressing, Jose Lopez looked good. I thought like a fight against. I don't.
Yeah, it was a Durrell fight.
If it's like the a Lipinets fight next for Jose Lopez, that'd be really fun. You know, throw him in there with an action fight on undercard. I think that's what he's sort of built for in the next 18 months that you can probably use him for. And then I think he's going to be probably spent because he's also another guy that is older, longer in the tooth. How much longer can he keep doing this? I don't know. But
Yeah,
he's a fun action fighter that's making some good money right now.
Yeah, just a little resurgence in it. You know, off a good performance against Thurman. Yes, he lost and or whatever, but he put it on Thurman for a while and real good display. And then on this one, look, don't get me wrong, this isn't some gauge because he beat Molina that he's going to go on some championship tear up and or whatever. Because Molina, he just didn't see punches coming. You know, he no reactions, no reflexes, no
He was
movement.
shot. Yeah, he was bad.
He's done for me. It's that was plain to see from round one. Lopez couldn't miss with that right hand all night. It was just there. And at one point, I don't know if he felt a little bad about it because he just seemed to take his foot off the gas. I think he could have got him up out of there in about 2 or 3. But yeah, call it a day now, John Molina. I think because you can't, especially in the latter stage of your career, just take shots like that. That's not good for anybody. And your corner needs a slap or something because the way they should have let you come out in that 8th round or whatever it was.
Moving on, Robert Guerrero fighting again. Yep. That's about it. Also, Joey Spencer picked up a much-needed KO win because he hasn't been looking that good in his last fight or two, I should say. And it was a significant KO. I mean, he bullied his opponent. That was rough.
Who was that? Was it? What was the kid's name? He got like a almost Wilder like.
Was it Leon Lawson? Because I didn't watch that fight.
No, someone. Who else on the card? Must have been like nearly first, I would say, because there's barely anyone in the arena.
Jose Valenzuela, Charles Clark.
Yeah. Have you seen that knockout? Oh my
I don't
god!
think I have.
He kind of like the guy's on the way down, and he hits him with 2 more on the way down.
I had all those like YouTube prelims like on the background while setting up the show for later that night. So I apologize. I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah, Jake Donovan tweeted out the link. You sent the link, but I'd already. The reason I replied to you, you fucking tease, is because I'd already clicked Jake Donovan's link, and it's
geo-blocked.
Yeah, the broadcaster said you can't watch it, motherfucker.
Why don't you get a VPN?
Matt, I don't even know what I'm doing. I barely make the mouse work on this show. It's ran out on me like 4 shows in a row.
You know what?
Now.
I believe in you. If you just typed in how to work a VPN or how to use a VPN, you would figure it out. I believe in you. I've heard it's easy. I haven't done it because I don't feel the need to do it.
You don't need to.
Yeah, I don't need to. I never do.
Matchroom tend to show everybody their whole undercard on
and you know me. Like if I miss some undercard fights, I'm not gonna cry about it. I watched 40 some odd fights this weekend, guys. If I miss some undercard fights, I'm okay.
Yeah, the hipster tag is gone.
No, it's not hipster. Shut up, okay. Anyways, I watch more fights than you. That's all that matters.
Stop crapping around because you think you know better than anybody else.
If you don't watch it, you can't comment.
That's true. That's why I didn't comment on those undercard fights that you were talking about. That I didn't see.